We as a team decided that we were so used to having a single system that we discounted stringing together best in class. And then we're either able to send them a link saying, would you like to do this? Or we get in touch with them and start talking to them about how we might shape their experience. What will be today? What will be next week? What will be next month? And what is on a roadmap and what it means to be on a roadmap.
Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Check Into the Future. I'm Jane Pendlebury. I'm CEO of Hospa, the Hospitality Professionals Association, and I'm delighted to be here kicking off this brand new series. This is in collaboration between Hospa and Agilicis, and we're going to be regularly deep diving into the exciting future of the hospitality industry, focusing on how technology is shaping everything we do. For our very first guest, we have someone truly special, and I know many of you listening will be familiar with her incredible work. We're joined today by Judi Blakeburn, the Chief Commercial Officer of the fantastic Watergate Bay and Other Place hotels. Welcome, Judi.
Hi, it's lovely to be here with you.
It's brilliant to have you as our first guest on Check Into the Future. We've known each other for a little while now, so it feels more like a catch-up than an interview. But just for the benefit of our listeners, how is everything going at Watergate Bay and Another Place?
It's actually turning into a really good summer. The hospitality industry in the UK has been struggling a little in the last few months. It's a tough time for us all. But after a particularly tough 2025 season is turning out really very well. We've had some extraordinary weather, and that has actually benefited us particularly because we're all about getting our guests outdoors and active in the environment, which is something that we've noticed and something that we've been leaning into over the last few years now.
Brilliant. And I know very luckily from first-hand experience how you are very active with your guests and how your team are always very keen to put the guests first, without exception, as it seemed to me. You've spoken passionately about putting the guest at the heart of everything. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that philosophy came to be such a core part of your strategy and what it truly means in practice for your teams and your properties?
I joined Watergate Bay Hotel back in 2003 at a really special time for Cornwall and actually for the Bay. I joined Will and Henry Ashworth, who were reimagining what a beachside resort could be like and ensuring it could be for everyone for 365 days of the year. And to set about doing that, they looked at it through the lens of a ski resort on the beach, which is an interesting dynamic. But what they wanted to do was give people great places to stay, wonderful choice of places to eat and drink. And then they wanted to bring the beach alive for everyone, providing hire of equipment, lessons, all kinds of sports that could draw people out onto the sand every day of the year. Having done that with them for almost 15 years, we wanted to do it somewhere else. We knew that we had a winning formula, and we went and looked all around the UK, to be fair, and found this extraordinary property on the shores of Ullswater called Ramsbeck Country House Hotel, which we reimagined into the very first Another Place, the lake. And the reason it is such a success within our framework of guest experience is, again, we've got beautiful places for people to stay. We've got 4 different restaurants and bars. We've got beautiful grounds. But then we have the lake. People can get out and swim. They can kayak. They can paddleboard. And from this year, they can wing foil. And they can then get out into the fells and walk. So really, our philosophy isn't just about being a hotel, a place for people to come and stay. It's all about the wider experience they have when they come, those wonderful experiences that they take away with them and remember for years to come.
That sounds just idyllic, doesn't it? The absolutely perfect place to go and take a break, but also keep active. Absolutely fabulous. I love it. So the focus of what we're due to be talking about on these podcasts are systems. One of the key things to talk about today is your vision, or what your vision was, to move away from all the disparate systems, probably some of which you inherited, some of which you may have chosen in time, but you wanted a fully integrated resort system, which is a huge undertaking. Obviously, that was a very big strategic decision, which must have had a catalyst to set it off. And then you must have been inundated with challenges along the way. Would you like to just talk a little bit about that?
It's been a real journey. you imagine back in 2003, when I joined Watergate Bay Hotel, Will, the owner of the hotel, had just installed his first proper PMS system. He was very proud, and it was my first property management system, and I could see all the benefits it brought. But as we set about expanding that guest experience away from the bedroom into the restaurant space, and we brought in technology to allow guests to book their tables, for us to manage our restaurants. And then we thought about our surf school and our treatment rooms. And what you ended up with was this siloed set of very useful tools. And people would say to me, what do the guests do? Do you know exactly what the guests do, Judi? And it would take me days to actually, at the end of a season, say, well, 50% of our guests did X, Y, and Z, and so on and so forth. And the booking process, when we were starting to think that we wanted people to be able to book online, was so complicated that really we stuck with telephones for a very long time. As I watched technology improve for groups and corporate hotels, I started talking to our partners. And again, I would say our partners were excellent within their field. But I can remember the person who was my contact with our property management system coming to see me. And I always tell the story. He said, well, what do you want, Judi? I just drew in this circle and said, here's my guest. Now I want literally everything connecting to my guest, not my guest connecting to everything. And he said, no, no, I don't think so. And then I started to hear about resort systems, and particularly in the US, resorts that had one system. And I met various people within the industry who said I should undertake a kind of full review. And that's what we did. We spent probably between 12 and 18 months going out and talking to lots and lots of people, undertaking a full review of how we used our own systems and then what would suit us. And in the end, we chose a system called Resort Suite, a Canadian system. The process of moving from what we had in probably something like 2010 to what we have in part today was painful. But within about, let's say, and this will sound very long to everyone, but within about 2 years, that system was embedded. And that picture that I drew was the truth. And we had one system, one guest record, and I could tell you that guest had booked a room, what tables they'd booked during their stay, what surf lessons they were going to have, what treatments they were going to have. And for us, because we have an Ofsted registered childcare facility, what sessions their children were booked on. Not only that, I could see the gift card associated with their guest record, and they could pay with that. And all of that was then available to our guests to book online or through a guest app. Over the years, we worked with Resort Suite to refine and improve both the systems for our teams to use and particularly for our guests to book through. Inevitably, systems age, and Resort Suite is not a cloud-based system. And at a point probably about 3 years ago now, Frank Pizzikalis, who owns Resort Suite, decided to sell, and he sold Resort Suite to Agilysys. That moment was a very useful moment for us because we had all also understood that we needed to move to the cloud. We could no longer really support what we had, but we were also very cognizant of what we'd achieved, what we still have in place, and how that provides for a seamless user journey to book if they're online, an efficient way of booking if you're one of our reservations team in our call center, a seamless kind of check-in process when guests arrive, allowing us to spend more time with our guests, helping them figure out the kinds of experience that we want to be able to give them. Frank lets us know that he's sold to Agilysys. I say, right, this is a good moment. We'll go back out again to the market and see what else is out there. And I took that moment with the team, and it sounds like I'm doing this alone. I'm not. 20 people were involved when I chose Resort Suite. We chose it together, and it was a slightly smaller team when we came to do it for this next round, but we were doing it for 4 hotels. So we've grown over the years ourselves. One of the things that we wanted to do is we wanted to look at whether or not there were good ways of connecting best-in-class individual systems, of which there are many now on the market. We went out to talk to lots of other hoteliers. We as a team decided that we were so used to having a single system that we discounted stringing together best-in-class and simply looked at resort systems available to us as a single system. And through that process, we chose Agilysys. And we are now going through that process that I went through some 12 years ago to implement a new system. This time I've taken a different approach, and I'm hoping that it has made it a more comfortable journey for our team and obviously for our guests.
Yes, it's a phrase I hear often, whether you should go for best of breed and link them all together, or just do a solution that gives you the all-in-one. And the holy grail for many hoteliers is that single guest profile, and often not achievable through the disparate systems. But it sounds like you absolutely can achieve that now, and making it easy for both your guest and your team member to get that information into the right place.
Exactly that. One of the really useful things for us now is how we iterate our guest communications. So if you're a guest who's booked online and you've gone through that process, I booked 3 rooms for the night. I think I want to dine here, 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 and here. I'd love a treatment. I'd love to go out on the lake and night swim or wild swim. And you've done all that. We can see that. We're able to so our guest services team, we have a concierge team. They're able to look at the guests probably about 3 weeks out and identify guests who haven't done that already. And then we're either able to send them a link saying, would you like to do this? Or we get in touch with them and start talking to them about how we might shape their experience. There may be a reason for you to come and stay in a hotel bedroom, and you could be going elsewhere. But in reality, if you're coming to stay in one of our hotels, it's likely to be for an experience. And we want to be sure that we're shaping that experience before you step into the property, so you don't miss any minutes of your precious time with us thinking about what you might plan.
Going back to that best in breed, best in class, I've heard, I think it was you who said the aspiration reality gap, that presumably must exist, where if you're not getting the one that specializes in that system, but getting one that looks at the bigger picture, there must be times when the integrated tech is outpaced by some of the best of breed tech. And how have you as an organization navigated that gap, and what advice would you give to others facing similar challenges?
I think that's a fact. And I think that's the decision you make. The experience with Resort Suite is that if you establish a really deep and regular 2-way communication with your supplier, that over time you can influence their roadmap to achieve your outcome. And in reality, the desired outcome for us is probably likely to be a desired outcome for a good number of that provider's hotels. So that's one of the key pieces for me. Ensuring that your team don't think they're going to get a perfect system on day one, pacing the implementation, letting them know what will be today, what will be next week, what will be next month, and what is on a roadmap and what it means to be on a roadmap, and encouraging patience. But equally, keeping real track of all of those key issues that you really do need addressed, and making sure that you're meeting regularly with your supplier to address them, to update them on why and how it's giving you issues.
Very good. Very true as well. And I think what your hotels do better than so many others and really lead the way is blending the technology with the human touch. Having had the privilege to stay at Watergate Bay, I absolutely saw that. I didn't feel there was any tech about me. Clearly it would have been quite a bit, but everyone was so charming and lovely. But how do you ensure that as you introduce more technology, you're still ensuring that you're nurturing those personable, memorable interactions with the guests, which they obviously come back year after year to experience time and time again?
From my perspective, technology, it is supposed to be taking away things that take you away from your guest. I think somebody who works on our front desk can spend an awful lot of time doing administration. That time could be meaningfully used talking to our guests, helping them have an even richer time than we hope they've already arranged. From my perspective, technology is all about taking away the things that a human doesn't need to do, allowing time for really meaningful interactions with our guests. The more time our guest-facing team have with our guests, the better. If you think about it in a restaurant, and this is something that most restaurants have, if you've got a piece of paper in front of you and you're taking an order, you have to walk back to a till somewhere, you have to input it into the till, you come back again and you go and get something. If you're on the floor with a tablet, you've sent the order, you can carry on a conversation with your guests, talking to them about anything that might interest them, the food, whatever it is. But that order is already away. And that's one of those great efficiencies that we're all benefiting from now. But there's lots of that. Somebody said to me, why do you want to put live express check-in for your guests? Why do you want them to check in before they've ever set foot in the premises? Well, I don't want our team to ask them when they check in, could they check their details, please? I want us to have asked them, to have helped them review their details, let us know they're fine, so that, again, you're just clearing the way. All of that leads, to efficiency for our teams. So speeding along, people don't have to wait at front desk for as long as they might have done in the past. But yes, technology shouldn't hinder personal interaction. It should absolutely help. That's what it's there for.
Yes, absolutely. And Harry Murray, who happens to be Hospa's president, but also a stalwart of the industry, he talks about this all the time, and you don't want anybody from a general manager through to a receptionist and anybody else stuck at their desks looking at reports all day long. We're in hospitality. We need to be out there talking to our guests as much as we can. And by doing that, obviously impact on your revenues as well, because by having those conversations, you're able to get to know those guests and make those suggestions. I know everyone listening will be familiar with the concept of RevPAR, revenue per available room, but you talk now a lot more about revenue per available guest, RevPAG. Have you got practical examples of how that has directly influenced a decision or a guest offering, that you're looking at it like that to the benefit of the guest almost as much as your own bottom line?
I'm our brand person. I've been the brand director for many years before I was the CCO. Everything I've thought about is how do we make for extraordinary guest experiences. I think that's, to a large extent, that's what we've done, and that's what we continue to do and innovate in that space. What a number of people used to say to me is, but Judi, this is wonderful. And yes, that's great. And we can measure it in ADR and revenue per available room, and the better occupancy we get and the higher room rate, we can say that's what's doing it. But what I wanted to be able to do is measure exactly the value of every guest. So revenue per available guest, for me, is fundamental. I'm not saying that I report on this on a daily, weekly basis right this minute. It takes a bit more doing, but I'm working to get there. But in general, if you look at our budgets, revenue budgets, in one of our hotels, 50% of the revenue is coming through our rooms and 50% is coming through everything else that we do. Now, of course, a lot of that is in F&B, but a growing amount is in what I class as active, what we encourage guests to do. So in a more general sense, it's a balance of around 60-40. That's what our model is about. But because I can measure that, because I can express to my FD that there is value all the way round in taking this approach, I can then be clear to still innovate within the brand experience area and measure it. And I know from the research we do with our guests that they are eager to do more. Now they understand that actually the opportunities we present aren't for an elite, they're for everyone. They're eager to hear what else might be coming down the line.
Fantastic. It's amazing for your guests to have that opportunity to expand their own horizons and to think about things that maybe they hadn't considered before they booked into your hotel.
One of the things that I find extraordinary when I'm at another place, the lake, I love it, is hearing people who've been out into the lake who never thought they'd go out into the lake. Not only do they go out into the lake, but they go out into the lake after dark to stare up at the stars. And the kind of energy and euphoria that those guests come back into the hotel with. You just think about the value to us in how they feel and what they're going to say to their friends and family when they get home. So all of that, it's just invaluable. But we have to present those opportunities. We have to make it seamless for them to book. Otherwise, they'll put barriers in the way to doing that thing.
Yes, and that's key to your technology being easy to use. For both the guest and your own team.
Exactly.
You talked about regular meetings with your supplier, Agilicis, but looking ahead, do you have more on the horizon for Watergate Bay and another place in terms of enhancing guest experience or operational efficiency through technology?
COVID came along, and the thing I needed more than anything else was a guest app. So I put live a guest app. And I wouldn't say that right now we have the best app in the world, but it allowed guests to book literally everything. We had to book swimming pool sessions. You remember it, everything in the world had to be booked. But it meant that particularly parents who wanted to book their children into sessions could do seamlessly. And our very old apps still provide that seamless journey to book for some activities in the hotel. Agilicis have an app. And we've got it actually in test flight at the moment for one of our Another Place hotels. And it should go live in the middle of August. And for me, that is making it ever more seamless for a guest. I acknowledge that a lot of us, when we book a hotel bedroom, don't really want that journey to take very long. And we perhaps don't or aren't ready to say, oh, I want a table at 7:30 on day 3 of my stay. I absolutely get that. But by encouraging guests to download an app, which we will do probably a day or two after they've booked, and then certainly a couple of weeks before they arrive, the app itself that we are going to be putting live will allow for all that secondary spend booking. So restaurants, but in this particular instance, restaurants, golf rounds, treatments, fat bike, and also to book another room. But not only that, it'll make check-in and check-out all on the app. I think all of that, it takes guests away from needing to go to a front desk to talk to someone about things that are just administration in reality. I don't think a guest app is the single silver bullet. It's part of a basket of opportunities and communication styles that you have with a guest, and technology allows for all that. So text messaging, WhatsApp, all of these things add to a kind of a perfect mix of being able to use technology to support your guest journey.
And as I always say, and people would be bored of hearing me say it, it's the fact that the guest then has the choice. If they want to book a dinner table for this evening, they can. But if they want to have a chat with someone at reception saying, we're not quite sure, whether we want to have a steak or a piece of fish, and they would then be able to recommend which restaurant's going to suit them the best.
Exactly that. I think a guest, those relationships you build up with guests are incredibly important. I love it when a guest comes to the front desk, there's that exchange of name moment, and our team say, oh, yes, I can see you're checked in. This room, that room. I understand that you can be eating with us in the beach hut tonight. This is your dog. It's those proper conversations that we can have. And it leaves time for the people who haven't. It leaves us time for just what you said. You can have the time to say, why don't you think about going to the living space? Because probably suit you better this evening.
It's proper 5-star treatment, isn't it? Letting the guest dictate the tempo, really, of the speed of their interactions. No, brilliant. Judi, we have a signature closing question on this new series of podcasts, and this is it. Thinking about hospitality in 2040, what do you think the guest experience could truly look like? And the clue, the sort of reminder here is be as imaginative or as grounded as you like.
I think about 15 years, and I think how far we've come in 15 years, which is a very long way in reality. I think that if in 15 years' time, guests will still want real experiences. I think that's incredibly important. We're human beings. We want to be with other human beings. We will still want the opportunity to come together with our families, with our friends, and have a wonderful time with extraordinary food and drink, wonderful things to do. If I think that it's been, this kind of curve in the last 15 years, I think what AI will do for the hospitality industry is something that I can't imagine. I wrote down a list of words, frictionless, seamless, the speed of booking, the speed of doing these things. I would hope that we'll become ever more people-centered. We'll become ever more guest-focused because we'll be allowed to by the advances in technology. A few years ago, we actually created a magazine, and although it wasn't written on the cover, what we were thinking about ourselves was a digital mind and an analog heart. That's something to play with. That whole, we're people, we have heart, we need real things, but we're capable of so much. And I'm very excited to see what happens in the next 15 years. In reality, I'm probably likely to be on the sidelines of that because I'm moving towards retirement. But I think it's an incredibly exciting time for hospitality.
Well, hopefully, Judi, you'll be coming back to Watergate Bay and your other hotels and benefiting from the hotel being ever more people-centered and having that digital mind and analog heart. So hopefully you get to enjoy it from the other side as and when you take that step towards retirement.
Thank you very much.
Judi, that was absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing all your insights with us today. That brings us to the end of our very first episode of Check Into the Future. Judi, it's been such a pleasure having you with us today. Your insights into building such guest-centric experiences and navigating the world of hospitality technology at both Watergate Bay and another place have been truly invaluable. Thank you so much for sharing your time and especially your wisdom with us. For everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed this inaugural episode, Check Into the Future. It will become a regular series and we've got some fantastic guests lined up. You can find Check Into the Future on all your favourite podcast platforms. Just search for wherever you normally listen. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And as we continue to explore how technology is shaping the exciting world of hospitality, we'll be talking next to Mark Lewis from Hospitality Action. He is our next guest. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks again, Judi, and we'll check in with you again very soon.